So this week we're talking about the FTX fiasco. Everybody's talking about it, but not like we are. We have inside information.
FTX is like one of the world's largest crypto exchanges, or was before last week. So FTX had put out their own token. They called it FTT. Binance said that they were going to start selling it. Totally normal, but this caused a panic in the crypto community and drove the prices of FTT down. And so while this was happening, people started pulling all their money out of FTX on Sunday. So it triggered a bank run.
So now all of crypto is tanking, it looks like, and Bitcoin's hitting new lows.
Sam Bankman-Fried made a comment to Congress about how, you had these financial instruments that were, derivatives of another instrument. They were betted against, over leveraged, all these different components, and it's literally the same thing he did.
They did prop this guy up, but he was a kind of guy I guess you would prop up in terms of he had a pretty good product, and he was killing it.
He was likable too.
A lot of conversation around, well, FTX, they just printed this token out of thin air. Well, BNB did the same thing, or Binance. I mean, they printed stuff, and it's probably owned by the Chinese government. Is Binance still going to buy some of these assets?
What assets?
Hey everybody, welcome to Missing Links with John, Brock, and myself, Stephen King, where we discuss what's missing in Web3 architecture. For feedback, please go to missinglinks.fm, send us an email, give us some feedback on what we discuss and what you'd like us to cover next week. All right, let's get into it.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Missing Links. This week we're talking about, of course, we're talking about the FTX fiasco. Everybody's talking about it, but not like we are. We have inside information. No, we don't, but we've got some interesting takes. So, Brachiosaurus, why don't you kind of lead us off with a synopsis on what happened?
Yeah, so for anybody who is listening to this but doesn't know, FTX is like one of the world's largest crypto exchanges, or was before last week. They were based out of the Bahamas. They had a U.S. arm. And it was headed by a guy by the name Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF for short. And so last Sunday, Binance said that they were going to sell a lot of their FTT token. So FTX had put out their own token. They called it FTT. Binance said that they were going to start selling it. Totally normal. But this caused a panic in the crypto community and drove the prices of FTT down. And so while this was happening, people started pulling all their money out of FTX on Sunday. So it triggered a bank run. So induced panic. And then by, Monday, FTX was asking for a bailout. Binance said they were going to buy FTX, then backed out on Tuesday. And by Friday, FTX and basically everything related to it is bankrupt.
Yeah, well, that sounds pretty bad. And I think a lot of people were surprised by this because SBF seemed legit. Actually, it's interesting because we do know some people in the, I guess you call it Web 2, but in the exchange business that were doing dealings with FTX. And
everyone was.
Yeah, it was weird all around. Just seemed everybody was this came out of nowhere. So now all of crypto is tanking, it looks like, and Bitcoin's hitting new lows. John, what do you think? What does this look like for, the next couple of weeks, months? What are the second, third, fourth order consequences?
So there is a few consequences. More a consequence of more like a crisis of confidence in the ecosystem, and especially with messaging. You see all these negative things going on. You see pump and dumps. You see things, and this, as things keep more things unfolding, it starts looking like it was just scaffolding of something else. And at least in FTX's case, they pretty much were so over leveraged that, Sam Bankman-Fried made a comment to Congress about how, you had these financial instruments that were, derivatives of another instrument. They were betted against, over leveraged, all these different components, and it's literally the same thing he did without knowing it. Or he did, the jury's still out on that. But pretty much at the end of the day, what's going to happen is you're going to see centralized exchanges have a confidence issue where they need to prove that they're liquid. They have to prove that they're safe. Decentralized exchanges like Uniswap and stuff like that, they'll be okay because those who use it understand the philosophy behind it. Most people don't. But the space as a whole will have a messaging issue. And it comes down to how does the Web3 space itself police our own community to give good candidates that people in the Web2 space can work with, be around. Because every time we give them, someone who we consider, our savior or like a talking head of the space, it doesn't turn out well. So how do we kind of move forward from this? And I don't think the bloodbath's over. I would say, my own opinion, my own words, by the end of the week, we'll see BlockFi will be gone.
Yeah, I think if they haven't already, BlockFi, I mean, they're just getting beat up. It's got to be tough to be them and a few others. But, look, I when I started hearing about this, I almost brushed this stuff off at first because it happens so often. And it's not just, I don't think that the industry, I mean, they did prop this guy up, but he was a kind of guy I guess you would prop up in terms of he had a pretty good product and he was killing it.
He was likable too. He was likable. That was the thing.
Yeah, and he was making partnerships and the whole nine. So I think there's more to it. Go ahead, Brock.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, and it was all working great in a bull market because everybody was pumping more money into it, and so you were getting like double-digit yields on your investments, and so it was everything was great as long as crypto prices were going up.
Yeah, but what about CZ? What about CZ? Because everyone's talking about FTX right now, but CZ, he played a I guess a good poker game with SBF, but he says, there's a lot of conversation around, well, FTX, they just printed this token out of thin air. Well, BNB did the same thing, or Binance. I mean, they print stuff, and it's probably owned by the Chinese government. So I don't know. I wonder. I don't see a lot of people talking about that, and I don't know. I haven't seen is Binance still going to buy some of these assets?
What assets?
Yeah, so I was going to say what assets. At the end of the day, Visa terminated its partnership with FTX, obviously, their card partnership. So did they, as well as BlockFi. So at the end of the day, they just need to, and this kind of goes to two things. So we talked about, I don't know if we talked about 3 Arrows Capital, but most people know now about the whole Luna collapse and all that. And if you think about it, FTX probably had some really big exposure there because when it comes down to it, he looked like a savior bailing everyone out. But at the end of the day, he was just buying up the company so he could tap into their assets to add to their balance sheet. So they did not have issues. So it was kind of a sheep's and wolf's clothing, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, they took those accounts and they could use it to fix whatever liquidity crunch they had potentially. But until a formal investigation happens, we won't know what their exposure looked like over the last 6 months.
Right. And Brock, I think you said this, but basically that he owns did you mention Alameda?
Yes, I didn't get into all the details, but yeah, it's probably worth mentioning that SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, also founded Alameda, which is like a investment company. And you can roughly say that he built FTX, the exchange, to provide his investment company a better exchange experience. So like really tightly coupled. And if you read between the lines, one possible conclusion you can draw from this whole scenario is that Alameda had lost about $10 billion. And in order to prop Alameda up, FTX gave Alameda $10 billion of customer funds. And so there's now this $10 billion hole in the balance sheet for FTX.
It's crazy.
But how it was done is even worse. There seems to be a back door.
They try to cover it all.
So it was one thing if he just said Alameda we're closing it. We lost the money. We kind of screwed up. But it's a very thin line. The minute you tap into customer funds and you don't disclose that, then that is that wire fraud? Well, I don't know what kind of federal law that follows, but
well, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny. Our banks, every bank that we use does that every day, but they tell us that in very fine print that nobody reads. And I wonder why he just didn't do that. Why didn't he just, in very fine print that nobody reads, say, I'm loaning out your deposits? And he could have moved that money into Alameda all day long.
Even if you do that, though, at this scale, I can't imagine this would ever fly.
Yeah.
Because you have to keep something on hand.
Well, you have to keep something, but it's fractional. It's called fractional reserve for a reason.
Right.
It's a fraction of.
But
he did have some.
But there's so much fluctuation in the. Like I get the philosophy behind fractional reserves, but in crypto, that the point of the fractional reserve is there's not that much swing in the market that reserve would have to be fully tapped. In crypto, if you have a swing of 5 or 10% either way, your fractional reserve's gone. Especially if people are cashing out.
Not only that, though, the reserves that FTX was claiming to have were in FTT and Serum. Those are like their two biggest reserves, which were just tokens that they invented.
Right. So they didn't even have reserves.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think we're kind of in between a rock and a hard place because we don't have to go too deep into FTX right now in terms of the details. I'm sure people have heard that elsewhere, but there's definitely going to be, it's out of all the things that have happened this year, Terra, Celsius, BNB lost $500 million in their bridge. Every wormhole. There are a lot of things that happened this year. Okay, so people look at crypto the same way they have over the last 5 or 6 years. Yeah, it's sketchy. There's no regulation, but there's also people that are saying, okay, Jerome Powell with the Fed just printing dollars. We're seeing inflation all over the world. Sort of the.
What's the difference? What's the difference?
Well, I guess it's kind of like I don't know. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like, where do I actually put my money? And I haven't gotten back into crypto all year for the most part, except for one play that Brock knows about, but we can't disclose that publicly. Where are you guys going to invest your money for the next 6, 12, 18 months?
I'm holding ETH.
Yeah, I'm just holding ETH. Might get some Bitcoin, but
are you buying though, or are you just holding?
I'm buying some, but yeah.
I have nothing left to buy with. I kept dollar cost averaging the dip over the last year, and it just keeps dipping. So I'm in.
Yeah,
correct. Well,
yeah,
just keep holding. I think you're going to do pretty well. I think we'll get. It seems like over the next month or so, maybe longer, we'll get another nice big old dip, and then when Solana hits $4 or $5, and a few of these others are down there, I think that's the time to get in.
Well, I just saw, if you guys follow, what's his name, Jim Cramer, he just said that it was time to get out of crypto. So that probably means the bottom's in and things are going to trend up. We'll be okay now.
Really, he said that?
Yep.
There's an account on Twitter that's do the opposite of what Jim Cramer says.
It would be up 50% this year. Yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy. The inverse Cramer index fund or something. ETF.
Yeah. Well, look, I guess, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how these things shake out, because I thought crypto was going to be the perfect technology to backfill the traditional financial system, because it was basically set up and tested just in time as this whole sort of house of cards comes falling down around the world.
Yeah.
But I think crypto, I think it still will, but I think in a different form. And I think FTX is going to have some consequences beyond just bankruptcies. I think it'll be regulation as well.
Well, and even in the FTX case, the reason it came down was because the inflows and outflows from FTX are public, because that's on chain.
Yep.
So everybody can monitor that. And that's where the worry came from. You can see the whole, you can see what draws paused. They can't hide behind PR.
Yep.
Yeah. It's, I think we're going to look back on the days when you could just create a token and release it as a phenomenal time in history. It's going to be like, wow, normal people could just go and create a currency and sell it, not even sell it, just kind of give it away. And I think those days are coming to an end.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting to the point where it's now. I think we're getting to the point where regulation will have to happen, and it's either the dip will have to get bigger and there'll be more suffering, or something positive comes out of this. And the bigger question is, what's this cycle look like worldwide? Because no one knows, and hopefully when that is kind of solved, and hopefully some things within the industry are solved, I think that it'll be better times. But I don't think we've hit that bottom yet.
Yeah. I think man, what a mess. It just seems like everything's a mess right now. We need a big old broom to come in and clean some of this stuff up. I guess now would be a good time to start thinking about getting back in, over the next 6 months. I think that's the play in terms of crypto, and then see sort of how things become regulated. Now, there's a lot of conspiracy theories, as you guys know. I know you keep up to date with that stuff around FTX and sort of what's going on. Did you guys see that tweet on Twitter where he just put what? And it was a Twitter thread.
Yes.
And then the second
he's now spelled out happened across like 9 tweets.
Oh, really? Okay. So I didn't even get that far.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of that?
He's kind of releasing something, and I think
one letter at a time.
There's going to be stuff that comes out, especially with Binance and CZ. This is crazy.
Well, you heard about some of the weird things that happened between the FTX founder and Alameda and some of their inner circle. It was pretty much a love circle, a bunch of kids in their mid-20s and 30s just doing crazy thing with a bunch of money. Pretty much is the biggest social experiment I've ever seen.
What do you mean? They were forming
There was a lot of inner circle lovemaking between a lot of the members, and there is speculation that a lot of the decisions that were made at FTX were drug fueled.
Really? That's crazy. Yeah. That would be another detail that would kind of blow me away, because it doesn't seem like that kind of organization. I guess I don't understand the choices. I mean, you've got this exchange that's going gangbusters. I guess you get to a certain point, where it's not real anymore.
There's a lot of weird interpersonal relationship dynamics you can draw. SBF was also the second largest Democratic donor this election cycle.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of conspiracies you can
it doesn't look good for anyone.
Yeah.
I wonder how that so that's so if this whole thing didn't happen, Democrat, Republican, that could have been no, I guess it wouldn't have been a good. Did you guys catch the Eric Voorhees and SBF debate?
No.
I saw the footnotes, but didn't actually see it.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't really need to see it. I mean, he's lobbying for a bill that's coming out that basically is not good for DeFi, but good for centralized exchanges. And Eric Voorhees did a great job saying, basically, if you believe in sort of DeFi, why would you even lobby anything right now? Because this bill is going to come out, and he's lobbying for this bill before it even comes out, before he can even read it. And so I guess there's, it could have been bad for DeFi, I guess. But now we look at sort of everything that happened. This is a lot worse for DeFi. But I wonder how that sort of works itself out between the Democratic Party. Republicans obviously take advantage of that, and they say, okay, you guys were in bed with crypto, but then crypto is going under the bus too. So I don't know, man. It just doesn't look good either way you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Are you guys starting, John, are you seeing things slow down in terms of work or anything like that? Or is it now it's full bore? Yeah.
It's still busy. Things are being built. Things are still being done. And it's important for the audience to know that crypto is just part of a blockchain system. You know, you still have the ability of building applications, data models. You still have the ability to do a lot of building on top of it. You know,
but it's all
one facet.
But it's all transactions that you're building on for.
Right.
But the financial DeFi, that whole world, and like stocks and trading, that's just the early use case of crypto. There's so much more now. Like you can put data on chain, you can build full applications. It's a much bigger world than just the crypto trading.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, look, I was going to say the same thing. Brock and we're seeing the complete opposite under the hood that you're seeing sort of on the surface. I mean, on the surface, it is a mess, but you know, in terms of people building stuff, it's busier than ever. People are optimistic. You know, they kind of say, oh yeah, it's terrible what happened, and then there's all these great things that they're doing. So, you know, I guess there's reasons to be positive.
Right. There's always hope to have something fixed eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny though, because every time crypto, it starts to get a better look in the mainstream, there's somebody's got to blow something up just to kind of push it back a little further.
And that kind of goes back to my original thought of that, like, as an industry, we need to call out bullshit, you know? And it's on us, like Ethereum Jesus, I love his tweets. You know, it's on us to police our own community. If we're building a decentralized future, it's up to us to enforce those morals and ethos within our own community.
You ever see that?
If we can't do that, then what was that?
You ever see that Ethereum Jesus in person?
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
A great guy.
He's like as tall as you.
He's a big guy. Yeah. He's a funny guy.
Before I met you guys, I always thought you guys were like, I don't know, like 5'10", 5'11". You guys were, this was like a couple of years ago. So you guys look young. And I see you guys and I'm like, you guys are like 6'5", and I'm like, hi guys, like looking up.
The first time you picked me up from the airport, Steven, you couldn't find me.
Yeah, no, I recognized the face, but that was it. I was like, that can't be John on that body. That's crazy. Oh man. All right. Well, so we're gonna do our ETH versus Bitcoin debate. We had to push it a week or so just because of all this controversy. And to be honest, we just didn't prepare. We had a lot of stuff going on. So
we single-handedly caused the collapse of FTX to avoid discussing the debate.
Yes.
Seems pretty shady, Steven.
Yeah. Well, I don't need to prepare. That's the thing, but I know you do.
I don't.
Okay.
The problem is the world is on my side.
I don't know that they are, Brock. I'm really worried for you on this.
So let's give them a little taste of what next week's going to look like. So, in 3 words, for or against, which one is better?
For or against what?
Like the debate. How would you summarize your debate coming up?
Well, the argument is around Bitcoin.
Technologically, there's no need for Bitcoin.
Yeah, so you're taking the technological angle, and I agree with that, but I agree with it, but I think that there's cultural factors that if we're just going to say this just on technology, then I agree. But I don't think that you could ever release an anonymous currency like Bitcoin ever again, unless somehow AI did it in the future, and we don't have to go there. But I think that if crypto is going to be long term, that let's go to topologies like network states, that you're going to have sort of this master country at some point. And you're going to have these substates basically. And these substates, sort of like countries, are going to have their savings or their endowments, or however you want to phrase that. And then they're going to have their day-to-day currencies. I don't see ETH ever as a day-to-day currency just because it's got a very specific use case for smart contracts, for machines. That's what it's good for. Bitcoin's anonymous and it's slow and it's a good savings for one of these network states, and to get all the countries that are currently, around the world, to get them on board with something like that, you can't have it tie back to a human. That's my argument. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody. We don't even need to have the debate. It sounds like I won.
It's a lot more than 4 words. Just gonna throw that out.
Yeah. But
I thought you said 4
paragraphs. I'll taste it next week.
All right, Brock, we'll let you prepare, and we'll have this conversation next week, but we'll end it there for now. Go to missinglinks.fm and put in your email address because Brock's going to give away an NFT.
I'll give one away.
Actually, that's maybe with the hot dogs.
Yeah, I would gladly give one away.
No, we need cookies.
Yes. All right. Let's end it there.
Start cookie business.
That was good.